And we're live. Welcome to Earful of Dirt, the Major League Rugby podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Corey Munson, coming to you live from Iowa. I'm joined as always by Aaron Castro out in Arizona and Liam Madigan-Freed in Massachusetts. Josh Fredland is behind the camera. He's over handling the comment section, so be sure to hit him up and send us questions. We'll go ahead and try to address those on air. So, fellas, how was your week?
Finally went to my first Cardinals game. Victory. You know how many 15 wins there are in like the NFL? Apparently, you only have a chance of getting that result of the score line like 1% of the time in the NFL, supposedly. Some stats dude was talking about it on the radio tonight. But so getting to the West Valley and parking was easy because, the Cardinals are bad right now. And so there was plenty of parking. But getting out, man, we're going to re-examine where we park next time because I'm not spending an hour in a queue to get out of the parking lot.
Well, that's just a gamely occurrence for Patriots fans because we tend to sell out, most of our games, but that just comes with being a fan of a good team.
I'm okay with it if it's a sellout, but the stadium was only half full. We're talking about management of traffic within the parking area.
With the way the Cardinals season is going, I would say that stadium was half empty.
So, yeah, good times. 49ers, down with you. If you live in the Valley, get rid of that crap and burn it. And join the Red Sea. Join the Red Sea. Support your team and none of that transplant BS. Thank you.
Yeah, well, if anybody cares to know, my week was pretty good. Right now, however, I am coming to you guys live via my phone because my computer decided to be an asshole and update right before the show was going to start, so I was kind of left with no other option. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty good. Like a little less than 2 weeks before I'm supposed to move to Houston, kind of start a new chapter there, and excited for that.
I like the hat.
Thank you.
Go Sabercats. Yeah, I am, as you can tell, hey, look at that. The color of the wall changed.
So
I must be at my new place.
You're going to add some stuff for the studio that you just built?
Not yet. Maybe, who knows? Maybe after Chicago, I'll bring something back with me I can hang up. So, the move's still ongoing, and now we're in the process of trying to sell the house. So that's...
you're selling it.
Selling the old house.
You're not gonna start your own Cedar Rapids real estate conglomerate and use it as a rental property. It's not happening.
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. Maybe next year. Maybe 2019. But if anybody knows, if you want to buy a house in Iowa, I have got a great deal for you. Let me tell you. So with all that said, what's up, Liam?
I was going to say, if I'm ever in the witness protection program or entering into the witness protection program, I'll hit you up. I'll need a place to stay. Iowa, it feels like one of those places you'd go.
Yeah, it is anonymous a lot of the time. No, my wife's cousin saw the price of the house, and he's like, if you wanted to fly the house out to Silicon Valley where he lives, we could probably sell it for about $1.5 million. But here in Iowa, it's a pretty good deal. So I don't know. With that said, for those new to the podcast, first, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate this. We do this every Monday night where we discuss news, rumors, and all about Major League Rugby, the United States Professional Rugby Union. It's a chance for us to look and talk through the issues, hear from the league, players, and team leadership, and check in with our friends from across the U.S. rugby scene. So, Aaron, tell us what we've got coming up on this week's show.
So for the rundown, we've got, Raptors dropping another one in the preseason, but it really wasn't that bad as the scoreline would suggest. USA versus Maori, sort of an overarching preview, not really digging too much into the nitty gritty, and I guess more of a tour preview because we have 3 games in Europe after this one. The RUNY U20 program was just launched. We'll get into that, and then, of course, last week's transactions.
Which, as always, it seems like every week there's more and more. We're really starting to ramp up towards the beginning of the season, so looking forward to that. All right, let's talk some rugby in Colorado. So last week saw Infinity Park in Glendale hosting the Americas Combine, and that was players from North and South America trying out for, among other things, MLR contracts. The Combine combined capped internationals from Uruguay, Chile, Brazil, Canada, and the U.S. And following the Combines, a team was kind of put together, the Americas Rugby Selects, and that they faced off against the Raptors on Saturday, I believe, and took care of business. The Selects beat the Raptors 59-31. Aaron, what do you think of that?
There's a lot of ways to look at this match. I looked at it sort of all-encompassing when you need to examine what Glendale has done in the preseason. 2 of their matches in the preseason were canceled. They were slated to play the Utah Warriors, so I kind of wonder what they would have looked like prior to this week. And perhaps they would have looked a lot different because I'm not sure if High Performance would have been cool with Sean Davies and Will McGee out there had they played 2 other fixtures. But you got to see some good stuff from the Little Magician and Will McGee, who is probably going to be our starting fly half against the Maori. But so holistically, their first preseason match, which was back in the summer against the Collegiate All-Americans, was really bad. It was atrocious. I had questions about how Glendale really took preparation for that because most of their hardcore knock-on starters, Sean, Will, and a lot of the other guys had basically just hopped off planes from their off-season vacation, and you had most of their young players who were in camp, had done or in training to go to Aspen, but really that was sort of an embarrassment. And, Coach Williams, gave him the riot act, and we've seen a lot better performances so far since then against the Barbarians. You had basically what would feature a lot of the younger players because Sean Davies and Will McGee didn't play, but they destroyed the Barbarians in their scrimmage. It was like 82-0 or something. It was 80-something to nothing. And then they went up to Ontario, both sides really not being up to what you would say full sides because they both played some young players. But again, improvement, competence in the system, they look pretty good. Here, what did we get? The Glendale players were exposed to Tier 2 and Tier 3 national team players. Ryan Reese, All-American, had some comments about being in Selects camp that were shared with me. He said this was the most professional and intense environment he's been in. He's the scrum half at life. He got to play. He scored the last try for the America's Selects. And it wasn't really the coaches that made it the most professional environment he's ever been in. He said the intensity and professionalism that the players that were in camp that were from the Southern Hemisphere, and the Chilean players, the Uruguayan players, and the Brazilians was just crazy. Whether it was a workout film or just passing, they just were perfectionists with their intensity. So when it comes to attack and defense of Glendale, you saw what you really wanted to see. Early on, you saw a lot of competence. Their defense played very well. It was a close game. early on, and you kind of made wonder what was going to go on. Like I said, you just want to see improvement when they're playing this tough of a schedule going into the MLR season. And to be honest, that Rugby Americas team was loaded. Every team would be able to find space in the MLR for those players. I think if you took that team as constructed, they'd be a top 2 team, if not the overall winner in the MLR, provided they stayed healthy. Chad Guff, or Guh, I don't. Someone needs to correct me on how to say his name, but the way it looks like is Guh. He didn't appear in the MLR last season. People thought he was going to be with Utah, and he didn't play. But he looked real good in this game. He had an intercept try, but as far as his scrummaging was concerned, really liked it. There, depending on who you talk to, there have been reasons why he hasn't gone further. I don't know what he did over that period of time to work on his game, but his game has definitely improved from his collegiate All-American days. And how Utah let him get away to Glendale, I don't know. But yeah.
Well, no, honestly, this game definitely interested me in the fact that we have seen some signings coming out of South America, especially 2 brothers that we're going to be talking about later in the show down in Austin. Also, Houston just recently signed, I believe it was Santiago Arata.
Whoa. I want to say we had the news a month ago on episode 2. Check the tape.
Yeah. All right, that's my bad, Aaron. But basically, what I'm saying is like that this is a talent pool of players that has yet to really be fully taken advantage of up here in North America. And I think with the greater and greater emergence of MLR, we're going to be seeing a lot more players with a ton of talent coming out of that talent pool down in South America. And this was just another chance for that to really come to the forefront in terms of how teams can start to get that talent integrated into our own system. Plus, also, it was great entertainment to just to show the fans in Glendale another kind of side of what rugby in America, not just North America, can actually be. And probably not the best look for the Glendale Raptors to fall with such a result, but at the same time, it's probably pretty cool for those players to be coming up from South America and actually get a victory, here on American soil.
Yeah, there were some. You pulled up the stats as far as the scoring summary was concerned. You look at the way this thing went. Nick Johnson, he had 2 tries at the 17 and 70-minute mark. Lane had a try at the 30-minute mark. Guff at the 42-minute mark. PNR at the 60-minute mark. It's not like this wasn't a competitive game and they weren't in it. Will McGee was 3 of 5 with his conversion, but some of those he didn't really have a chance.
Well, it was a I believe it was a tie game going into the half, or it was at least a 10-point game.
I think it was 12-15 at the half.
Yeah, so no, it was definitely a pretty close game going into halftime, but I think it was either fitness or it was just a lack of game planning for the second half and being able to adjust on either team's parts. In terms of the selects, they came. Yeah.
I wouldn't call it fitness. They were just the selects were just better, and
better overall. Yeah,
they were just better. Because the benches were extended. I think they went out to 28 players. So both sides. Scott Weisenmantel said who is the head coach for the selects, who is the attack coach for England. Don't be surprised, everyone, if Scott Weisenmantel isn't the next World Rugby funded Tier 2 coach out there. He's pretty good. Australian, coached with Eddie Jones a few times and again. So, but that team, that select side, it was really strong. It's kind of interesting to see that MLR didn't try to get some of these players last year. But, with such a low salary cap, it would be tough to ask people to commit to more visas and whatnot. But
So if you had to make an early guess, what percentage of these players do you say get MLR contracts? I mean, is 100% a possibility, or do you think it's likely to be less?
I would say 100% of the South Americans. The Canadians, I'm unsure of, because I think the Canadians that will get contracts, because I think I need to look at the list, but none of the Canadians that showed up to this combine. Yeah. So none of these Canadians that showed up to this combine were on the travel squad that went to England for the repechage. So the guys who don't have contracts that are going to get contracts, I think it's going to be the guys that are on the Canadian national team that don't have MLR contracts and don't have overseas contracts. Like, those are the Canadians that are going to come down. The South Americans, I would say, I mean, they all pretty much started. So I'd say 100. You could be at 100%. Maybe if one here or there, but they're all capped players as well. So demonstrating their value to immigration is, negligible. Like, it shouldn't be an issue.
Well, that's definitely good to hear. Like I said, it's a great talent pool that MLR can start pulling from, especially with the emergence of professional rugby down in Uruguay, I believe. Or is it Argentina or Uruguay? That there's been rumblings about it.
The league that's supposed to happen is, I guess, called Sudamericana, Liga America. I don't know. Is supposed to be an 18 league in South America, but I mean, I guess sort of. I'm a cynic, and I was a cynic when MLR came around, and I wasn't sure if it would ever get off the ground, and it did. But they announced basically 2.5 years in advance, and if they're sending their players up north, the only players going north that make sense to me are the Uruguayans, because they want their players playing at the highest level possible going into the World Cup warm-ups. So everyone else is like, I don't know. Are you trying to bring back lessons learned, or is that thing ever going to get off the ground? I'm unsure. If it does, that would be great, because then, I guess we'll end up with the Champions Cup, and then we'll start having to, get mad about the number of fixtures that our players play.
I mean, we could kind of end up like the Six Nations, where we all compete against each other, beat each other, make each other feel good, until we end up playing somebody like South Africa or New Zealand, and then we learn how the hierarchy really works once again. Go Ireland, though, in the upcoming Six Nations.
So,
I guess this would be a good chance to give a shout to. We do have our Spanish language show that En La Melee, and be talking a lot more about professionalism in South America, as well as some of these South American players coming up to MLR over on that side. So be watching for a new episode of that in November. So,
sí, viva En La Melee.
Yes, sir. So another thing going on, one thing coming up this weekend, I guess, is the rugby weekend. Aaron, you and I are going to be over there in Chicago. I think Victor from En La Melee is going to be there. So I don't know about you guys, but I am looking forward to this weekend. And I think ahead of that, we just want to take a couple minutes and kind of talk through the USA men's match against New Zealand's A side, the Maori All Blacks. We've lost both of our previous matches to the Maori. In 2013, we dropped it 29-19, and then in 2016 at the same event, it was pretty bad. We lost 54-7. Obviously, kind of hoping for a better result this time around. What are you guys looking at?
Liam, we have a bunch of call-ups to talk through here first, I guess.
Well, unfortunately, I'm still waiting for my my computer to load.
All right. Well, I'll get through these. So, Chance Wengleski, he's from Lindenwood. He's been in the APC. I'm pretty sure Chance is capped. No, he's not. Never mind. But Alex Martin, who previously was capped as a prop, has been converted to hooker. He's from Life. Tim Moppin went to Trinity, plays for NOLA, and he is Eagle number 446 on the wing. Saul Wuching from Washington, Eagle number 519. He's a flanker. Just called up. Luke Hume, Eagle number 428. Just signed for RUNY. Played with Old Blue. He's old man Hume. Little did I know that
he can still move, though. I'm
actually closer to his age than he is to Corey's. But, Luke's been around a long time, and he's hanging around on a robo leg. So we'll see about that. But it would be kind of cool story to see him back. Marcel Brocky, he's from the Western Force, Eagle number 503. He's got 8 caps on the wing and center. So this is interesting. I think he's going to be a game time decision pretty much the whole tour. So if he stays with the team, which I don't think he would have left Australia, he really wants to solidify his spot in the World Cup squad. And, we're going to need him if he's fit. But his season ended early for the Western Force. So hopefully he's fit and he's good to go. Gannon Moore, a guy whose name I totally didn't know.
Nor did I. This might be his first cap. Am I wrong?
Yeah, if he's capped, this would be his first cap. He's been called in several years ago into the Eagles training squad when he was with the Kansas City Blues. But he's been playing down in New Zealand 2 years ago. He turned out for the North Harbour in the Mitre 10. Since then, he has continued to play with the Silverdale Seahawks and has been selected to the North Harbour B team this last season during the Mitre 10. Then we've got Mika Cruze. He's 20 years old, sort of got snubbed during the U20 qualification process for the Junior World Trophy. But guess what? It doesn't matter because he turned out and he showed out during the APC. He really didn't need to go to the U20s, I guess, because he's been called into camp. Needs some work a little bit, but, if he gets pulled in and he makes it, good for him. Still young, but right now we are kind of thin. Tony Purpura, Eagle number 416 from Massachusetts. It was kind of interesting to see him come back into the good graces under Mitch, and then he really hasn't been fit for about a year and a half. He got injured last year while he was playing for the San Diego Legion. I was sort of unsure about this call-up, but people seem to tell me that he played pretty well for Old Blue this year, and I think he started for Old Blue in that weird fall cup thing that the Performance Game Board wanted to talk about, since Old Blue won't be competing for the national championship. Just unless they change their mind. I don't know. Shot across bow. Guys, compete for the spring title. Just do it. Nate Brakely from Nyack, from St. John's Prep.
Yeah, he's from
Eagle.
He's from Marblehead, though.
Eagle number 469. So, he is apparently from Marblehead. So,
that's my high school's old rival town. Pretty much, if you grew up in Swampscott, Massachusetts, you knew everybody from Marblehead. And he's from the area. Got to represent the North Shore, but something about him being from Marblehead's is going to leave a bad taste in my mouth, especially if he's going to be playing for RUNY.
So there's some interest. Some of these call-ups are interesting right now with all of Khalifi dropping out due to injury. We needed another loose head since T.D. Lamosatelli is playing at tight head position, but T.D. Lamosatelli, I believe, is not released until we hit Europe. So he won't be starting at tight head instead of where he's been at loose head. So we'll have Eric Fry as the starter at Loosehead. Needs someone to fill in for Olive Khalifi, so that brings in Chance Wengleski and Tony Purpura. Again, Wengleski's a guy that's been on the outside looking in for a while. He's very young, but he's been performing at a pretty high level. Alex Martin, wow, kind of surprised here because I guess that puts 4 hookers in camp. Well, 3 hookers in camp since Joe isn't released for this game. And that gives us the Butcher, Dylan Fawcett, and James Hildebrand also competing for that slot. It's very interesting to me. There's 36 guys in camp right now. This is probably the largest camp we've had in a long time because, we need that money. So, like I said, there's 36 guys in camp. Expect 8 guys that are on the total roster of 36 not to be named for the travel squad to go to Europe. And I'm pretty sure a lot of these guys might not be making it. But interesting call-ups overall. I think, we're kind of thin at the center position for the moment and wing. But I think that will level out when we get to Europe. But, I really don't know what to expect because we didn't have a 2-week camp. We had like a 1. We're having a 1+ because the guys started training, those that were released and not playing started training on Saturday. So you had a bunch of guys in, Psalm Wuching, Henko Hamishais, Tony Lamborn, tons of dudes all getting their work in on Saturday in preps for everyone else to show up.
So, Aaron, if you had to choose somebody from this squad who could be a surprise cut, that, tons of guys who you might be like, I could see that coming, but if you had to choose somebody who's going to be a surprise cut from this from this training squad, who would it be?
Oh, geez, from the squad. Let me look that up. Pardon me, everyone. Gotta make sure I'm talking.
Could it be somebody like Luke Hume, for instance? Especially if his injury history does come up.
A surprise cut. I mean, Luke just being in and around the squad to me is a surprise because for a while, he hasn't been in the squad for about 3 years. So, and part of that is because of his injury history. I would say who would be the surprise that makes it in? To the surprise that makes it into travel has got to be Gannon Moore. Because of these guys, he's been off the radar for a while. The rest of these guys, we're talking cap dudes or people that have been in the high-performance system, champing at the bit, trying to get their shot. So if Gannon Moore makes it onto the pitch against the Maori or makes it onto the training 28 that goes to Spain for the Samoa match, that will be impressive, and I will want to see him play just to see that.
It could be like what you could think of as like an underrated underdog story, if anything. I know now I'm rooting for this kid. Now I want more to make this goddamn squad. I didn't even know who he was before today.
So So I guess the preview of the November tour is so this was my expectations when I sort of knew the slate of games back in about April, except we're playing Samoa and not Tonga. My expectations are about the same. Need to go 2-2 and be competitive in the other 2 matches. And it's I look at this as a sandwich, probably lose to the Maori. The way we've played, I think we can punch them. If practice goes well this week, we can punch the Maori in the mouth and we can play a great game and be in position to do things, just like we were in position to do things against Scotland.
Is beating them realistic, though?
Is beating them realistic?
Beating them.
I mean, it's the Maori are loaded with All Blacks and guys that are trying guys that are trying to get capped, guys that are competing to hopefully get pulled into that World Cup training squad. So, sort of at the end of the day, we're still a tier 2 country, and the Maori could be a top 10 team on their own. I think most people think that. So, I mean, it's gonna be a tough match, but it will not be like the last time where we just got our butt whooped. That's for sure.
Definitely. So, I mean, if you were to ask me, which I'm not going to wait for, I'm just going to say it, but I would say like a good point differential, even if we were to take the L coming out of the game, I would say minus. I would say 12 points, maybe 18 points might be excusable.
I mean, if there's a line on this game, I would say the line opens at minus 15 for the Maori. I would take the points if I was the Maori at minus 15. The reality is let's say if we hold them under 50 and we look good in our attack, there's chances. But
I want to see tries as opposed to just penalty kicks. Would definitely be a step up.
Oh yeah.
In terms of getting points on the board.
Tries. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we've got players that can be dynamic in the open, like Ryan Matias. If you play him at outside center, things can happen. If you play him at 11, things can happen. We can play fast flowing, hard hitting rugby. The difference here is we don't have some of the guys that allow us to do the same thing as that we did against Scotland, which was drive up their tackle count using guys like Joe Tafete and Samu Manoa and Bryce Campbell and Paul Lasike. All of these big dudes just running, through the midfield to drive up the tackle count on purpose. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to play. We're going to play some hard hitting, fast flowing rugby. I just want to see us play good on defense, because I think on attack we'll look okay. Defense is where it's going to be interesting, but I think we're going to be competitive. In fact, I know we're going to be competitive. We have a very competent coaching staff. We have a great leadership group of players that are experienced. That have, for the most part. Gary his hallmark so far has been consistency. So if you didn't play in the summer, the likelihood of you playing against the Maori might be small. I mean, the way he has selected players, it's been consistency as much as possible. I guess, another thing to look at with most of this roster, including the extended roster, has been everyone's in playing shape for the most part, which is a bit unusual for our autumn internationals. Part of this, and thanks to MLR, and the other part is, and thanks to MLR pushing guys to gain overseas contracts in the likes of Landry and Bryce Campbell. So
it also encourages them to to continue to play even outside the MLR season, to stay active with their clubs and stay active in the gym, just to because now it's money's on the table in terms of roster spots and in terms of getting higher tier contracts and impressing the coaching staff, and going forward in years to come, getting that much more money added to your contract, because as we know, it's pretty much all 1 year deals that these guys are playing on, so it's always a contract year until the foreseeable future.
Pretty much. Moving on. New York launched their U20 program last week. Phil Torigno has been appointed the head coach for the RUNY Academy. He is the former head coach of Texas Tech. In fact, I did not know he had left. I found out that he had left Texas Tech by reading that press release. He's currently an assistant at West Point with Kyle Sumption. So that's talk about a great coaching staff right there when it comes to your forwards group. You got Phil's a prop, so he trains your front row, and so you're gonna have your little own front row academy really coming out. I think Grant Cole calls it a foundry, but you might have a foundry down in up in the Bronx. So
foundry right ahead of the engine room. That's what Grant Cole calls the second row.
There you go. You know, it's a really good hire. Phil is what is described as a technical coach. He knows his position group very well. He can coach it. He can train it. And, you know, he can select players. Yeah, you know, how hard is it to recruit players to play at Texas Tech? It's pretty hard. He had fielded a competitive team while he was there.
So I have finally got my notes back.
Well, there we go.
Hell yeah. So, Corey, what are we moving on to now?
All right. Well, I think we are ready for some transactions, guys.
Oh, heck yeah, there, guy. So,
I know you're still.
No, I actually finally got my notes back so I can tell all you good people about the transactions that we got going on.
Well, lead us off with some Sabercats news then, man.
Hell yeah. So going towards my good old Sabercats, we have Pat O'Toole. People might know him if you're from the San Diego area or a fan of the Legion. You might know him. He played for the team towards the tail end. However, he kind of got his big start on the big stage with the Ireland U19 team. And you know, since then he's been able to impress, especially you know, with his play with the ball in hand. He's actually not that bad with the ball. Second, we got Kevin Sullivan heading to NOLA. He's a former Cal rugby prop. Right after that, we have Travis and Josh Larson, two brothers coming out of the BC Premier League, having played with the Bears. Travis having played professionally in Italy, and Josh having played with the U20 Canadian team. So both of them coming in with some significant experience on the big stage. And after that, I think, Aaron, you have some guys to tell us about.
Yeah, so I mean, those are some good signings. Pat O'Toole, that's an interesting one. He had graduated from the senior academy with Connaught, was playing with the Pro 14 side when he somehow parachuted into the San Diego Legion, which is kind of cool. But you got another high level hooker coming in. But if I got this right, Jasa Varamalua from Fiji Sevens is signing with the San Diego Legion. He's 6'5", 240. He's got some pace. You know, he's an athlete where you may want to put him in the back row, but he transitions onto the wings. So I guess you got a Jordy Barrett type player, big, physical. Well, actually, he's probably way more physical than Jordy Barrett. But a big physical wing with the way they wanted to play last year will add to what they want to do. And then we've got Mike Petrie, scrum half, Eagle number 384. We're talking a 57 cap international scrum half to probably take Marcus Walsh's lunch because Mike can play. He played at Nyack, also a great children's book author. R is for rugby. Go buy it. Just do it. And we got Malcolm May from Penn State. He's a flanker signing for NOLA. If anyone watched Penn State last year, especially going into the playoffs, this guy's a difference maker around the ruck. He goes to work. He plays 6 usually, so we'll see him play. But guess what? This probably makes it for Vince Jobo to go play 7. You know, just saying. They are set up in the back row, I think, at New Orleans.
Oh, hey, look at that. That was a smooth transition there, Liam.
Yep, nope. I just finally had to transition from my phone to my computer. So that, yeah, sorry if that was a little bit awkward right there.
It's all good, brother. So, listen, while we're still on transactions, does anybody want to explain what the heck is going on with Matt Houston? Does he play for the Free Jacks? Does he play for the RUNY?
So it's this simple. The Free Jacks had one fixture. He wasn't. I think the only person like that is legit a Free Jack is Tide Leader. I don't know if I wouldn't say Matt was loaned out from RUNY to the Free Jacks, but a bunch of people got calls from Alex Magleby to put together a side so that they could go play. You know, Ontario, they needed to put together a side around a Mystic core that could be relatively competitive. So, and the final scoreline was relatively competitive, and it shows what's up when he's not even going to be there for a long period of time, and he earns the captaincy right away. So, for a team he's not even going to be on.
Well, exactly. Now, nothing's confirmed, but at the moment, RUNY's definitely the best chance that he has to play and earn money. So obviously, he's not going to stick with just an exhibition club that is going to play 1 or 2 meaningless games. So it was expected that we were going to see him on an actual MLR side at some point in the season. Now, the one positive that did come out is that he's going, well, for me at least, as a Boston fan, the one positive is that he's now kind of in that Free Jacks circle where the door is open for him to return next season. Should the Free Jacks be able to put the money up,
trying to steal Nate Brakeley and Tony Purpura via social media.
Yeah, man, Brakeley. Like I said, I got my own opinions on people from Marblehead, but you turn against the nation, we don't forget it.
Well, as I understand it, all's fair in love, war, and rugby. So that's what I've heard.
Well,
I don't know. Recruit however you want. All right.
One could say they were trying to poach. No, that's. I was just making a pun with the whole Liam poach thing. I'm not accusing anybody of poaching.
Wow.
Yeah, gotta say that real quickly.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So what do you say? Should we take some questions from Bob?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. Okay. Starting us off, Tim-Edwards wants to know: does anyone know if the games, MLR games, will be streamed on YouTube like last season?
Well, they weren't streamed on YouTube last season, so I guess the answer would be no. They
were available after the fact.
Yeah. So they were streamed
replays
via Facebook Live for international consumption, minus the CBS game if you were in Canada. Because guess what? You guys can get CBS Sports in Canada. I'm sorry. Okay. But to my knowledge right now, unless they get an international distributor, and I know that they were in discussions, at least I'm basing this off the MLR kickoff episode that had Nick Benson on it. They were in discussions with a distributor for rights overseas, so we'll see if that happens. If not, you can expect them on YouTube probably by Wednesday of each week again.
All right. Cardiff RCM asks, what does Dan Power mean when he says merry gang of goons?
I think that's just old man rugby jargon.
Well, I mean, so he said it's sort of a shout out to us and what we do. And what are we a merry gang of goons? I'm sort of grumpy, to be honest.
We're the bad news freaking Bears.
And I guess it's like gang of goons because we've sort of put together a pretty we've got a sevens team right now. I don't know. I mean, we don't have depth to play past an injury, but there are 7 people associated with the Earful of Dirt brand right now. So
yeah,
we'll take it. All right, Milksteak Connoisseur says,
I still love that username. By the way, best username on the internet.
It's a goodie. So this actually is kind of what we just talked about. How has New England attracted such serious talent from active teams when they won't be ready to play a real season until 2020?
I think it might just be McElbee's just getting people, with his own name, recognition. I don't want to say he's calling in favors, but I think he's, he entices people to kind of come help, be the foundation of it, like, of something new. And I think, people definitely wanted a chance to show off their talent before the MLR season kicks off. It's all about trying to earn money and show off your minutes.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Ty Gleader is going to be playing somewhere in the league. I don't know where he'll be loaned to, but I'm sure he's going to play somewhere. Ben Sema is going to play somewhere. Already Matt Houston is playing somewhere. I guess the name, one of the players I want to see play somewhere is Jihad Kabir. He's freaking good. A lot of those guys from the Mystic Core could play, but it would probably make more sense to sort of retain them and keep them in a system if they are to install that system over the spring, so that you have a core of guys that are ready to form the core for your recruitment in the next year, because recruitment is a 6-month process. Basically, you have to, as soon as the league kicks off, and those people that, for foreign players, you need to start your recruitment. Like, as soon as the league kicks off in January, you need to start looking and scouting for foreign players. So.
Yeah. All right. MARS 1317. That sounds like a made-up name. Mm-hmm. How does MLR decide on cities for expansion teams? Sub-question, is there any chance of Philadelphia getting an MLR franchise in the next 5 years?
You got a couple of, 100 millionaire backers.
Yeah, essentially, if the city has a decent enough market, especially if it's one that isn't claimed by, MLB or NFL's like teams already, there's a few factors that, definitely play into it. Money talks. That's like, numero uno going into the whole process. Philly, you have some good teams. You got Scully River down there, is one really good club. But at the same time, you do have the, potential entrance of a DC MLR team that might not want that, particular competition just right up the highway. So, that's always something that you need to consider in a situation like this.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, especially between like Philadelphia, DC being so close. It kind of reminds me of some of the rumors we heard around San Diego's response to a potential LA team coming in. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. The East Coast definitely has room to support teams. Rugby's huge out there. So look at me talking like I know anything about this. You're the one that knows these things, Liam. Okay.
I don't know anything. Nah. Sometimes I know stuff.
Last question of the evening, and this is not one that came in from questions from Bob. This is actually one that kind of sparked a lot of discussion over on our Reddit page. But it affects our show, so I wanted to be sure to address it and just kind of flesh this one out a little bit. So, More America, please, wants to know, why does Aaron Castro keep hating on everything Seattle? Liam, do you have any thoughts on this?
Aaron Castro is a very good journalist, and he's one of the most unbiased people that I know when it comes to the sport of rugby and the coverage of it within the media. And I do not think that he has ever, nor will he ever, show an unfair bias towards the city or any sort of team in Seattle, and that includes the Seawolves. Now, while there has been some talk that we have shown bias as a program, I do not agree with this sentiment. And moving forward, I do not think that it is even worth discussing whether or not we have a bias towards the Seattle Seawolves, because we have a lot of friends on that team and a lot of people have been very kind to us. And I think it's fair to say that we have always given them fair shake.
I guess if you want to see my response, you can go on to Reddit and take a look at that. All I'm saying is that if you're going to field a de facto professional team, which the Seawolves basically did, and yes, the BC Premier League is the top amateur competition in North America. However, the Seawolves, the Seattle Saracens, have had during the BC Premier League season at different points up to 8 MLR players on the field. So if you're going to do that, you need to win by 20 points or more, which they did against James Bay. They had a bye this week, so no criticism from me. Like I said there, I pounded Nyack for how they have played this season, and I've pounded Mystic for how bad they've played this season when it comes to the ARP and how some of those players are going to be in the MLR. So if you're going to field an amateur team with a bunch of pros, expect for me to get annoyed. That's all I'm saying. Now, the Seattle Saracens, which formed the core of the Seawolves last year, also struggled in the BC Premier League. When you put that team together with the guys from up north on the Vancouver teams that were in the BC Premier League, and you put that whole team together, you came up with a championship contender. And I guess that says a lot about what they're playing in, but we're trying to raise the level of MLR. So my expectations are going to be up here the entire time. That's all I'm saying. So Old Blue was full of, RUNY players. And what did they do this weekend? They went out and beat the Chicago Lions in the U.S. Elite Cup, which is this fall competition for elite teams. All of the teams that played D1 in the West don't play until the spring. So they went and showed what they were supposed to do. So kudos to Old Blue for winning the U.S. Elite Cup. But as I say, play in the spring. That's the national championship.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Aaron, for addressing that. And all joking aside, I will just say that we always...
Oh, this is the one reason why I will have umbrage with Seattle. Guys, I want a scarf. You need to make scarves this year. They made scarves. They made scarves last year, and I only think they made like 400 of them, and they were sold out quick. They were the only team to make scarves. I know Glendale has in the past made scarves, so Glendale also make scarves this year. That's my only point of criticism is I want a scarf. Is that a?
I think every team should make scarves. I feel like, especially if we're gonna be playing in January, and you want fans to go to the stadiums in January, make scarves.
Seems fair. All right, fellas. I think that just about wraps us up for the evening.
Hell yeah.
You have any final thoughts on our way out here?
I hope are the Patriots still on? I really hope they are.
Go Eagles, and Corey, I'll see you in Chicago.
Absolutely. All right, fellas. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. We'll be right here again next Monday live on YouTube. And as always, we'll have this show available for download Wednesday morning from all of your favorite podcast providers. If you like what we do, please subscribe to us on YouTube and on iTunes. And please provide feedback. Just a quick shout out. 5-star feedback will get read on air. So if you want to give us a review on iTunes, tell us we're awesome. We'll send that awesome right back to you. Be sure to share your own news, views, and abuse with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And subscribe to us on all those services too. We love connecting with you. We love hearing from you and knowing what's going on out there. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in live. We will see you next week.